Yo, 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 what's crackin', party people? It's your boy, Shane the Bearded One. Welcome back to another tasty installment of the Bearded Banter Pod. Why am I don't know what possessed me to do this intro the way I am.
Well, that's a wonderful start.
It's a great start. Anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome back to VGN. I am your host, Shane the Bearded One. Welcome to another exciting installment of the Bearded Banter Podcast, a gaming podcast where anything can happen, clearly. Like I said, I'm your host, Shane.
Literally anything.
Literally anything. Like, a plane could crash into my house, and I'd just be like, well, there's a fucking plane in my living room
on
now.
the podcast itself, so we have an excuse to not upload anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, my house exploded. I can't upload this podcast. Sorry, guys. But anyway, like I said, I am your host, Shane the Bearded One. Welcome back to the podcast. With me, I have, as always, my lovely co-host, Matt Legion Rex. How are you doing this fine morning, Matthew?
I am doing quite good, actually.
Are you ready to talk about the super fighting robot of the future?
I am ready to talk about the super fighting robot of the future. The best super fighting robot of the future.
The greatest super fighting robot.
In fact, some people might say the only super fighting robot of the future. I'd argue otherwise.
I would argue as well. And I would like to say with us as our second co-host, Spencer. But clearly...
Spencer is dead.
He's most likely dead.
No, because he was late, I killed him.
Yes.
And because of that, he will not be on the podcast today.
Ever. Again. He is officially dead in canon. He will never come back. And because of that...
Bearded Banter lore, he is dead.
Bearded Banter lore is quite extensive.
It's quite complicated. You've seen Lost? Yeah, I got nothing on this.
Yeah, no. You thought that was confusing? Check this fucking shit out. But anyway, since Spencer did not give us the privilege of being here on time, I am afraid that I have to adorn him with the big red X of shame upon his face. That will remain there for as long as he does not show up. When he does, and explains his actions, I might be a little generous and remove the X from his face, but as it stands right now, that's going to stay there.
Oh, Spencer.
It's unfortunate that he continues to do this to us, but that's expected at this point.
It's completely expected, Like, first you miss one podcast, and then you miss all the podcasts, and then you just miss your life.
And then you just miss breathing, and then you die.
Yeah,
But that's enough shitting on Spencer for today, at least for now. Welcome back to Bearded Banter. We're going to do things a little differently today. Any of you out there who have followed the podcast before, we've done these topic episodes before in the past, where instead of covering the news and just what we're playing in general, we decided to cover an entire topic for the entirety of the show. Today, we're going to be doing a special one because this is a topic that both of us are very excited to really get into a discussion about. Today, we're going to be talking about Mega Man X, the spin-off series of Mega Man that started in 1993 on the Super Nintendo, created by Capcom. I figured we were going to do this because, as of this recording, the X Legacy Collection just came out this past Tuesday, and since Mega Man X is in sort of a resurgence period, I figure what better time to actually sit down and talk about the X series as a whole. So, like we've done in the past, these topic podcasts have a very specific format, different than the usual shows. Today, since we're talking about Mega Man X, we're going to go over a brief synopsis of what the topic is. We're going to go over a general history of the topic, in this sense, all of the game releases. Then we're going to go into opinions. We're going to have a discussion on what we actually think of the series as a whole. And then to top things off, we're going to talk about our personal experiences with this series. Either some memories that you want to talk about, or just your general history with Mega Man X. Whatever you want to talk about, we're going to get to it at the end.
Alright.
So, if you're ready, Matt, I think we're ready to get started.
I am pretty much ready.
Alrighty, so... Mega Man X is a spin-off series of the Mega Man series created by Capcom. Like I said before, the first entry in the X series was released on the Super Nintendo in 1993.
December 17th, to be exact.
Yes, it was released in December 1993 in Japan. It was released a month later in January of 1994 in North America. Basically, the whole general synopsis of the X series is that it takes place 100 years after the classic series, where we follow Mega Man X, commonly known as X, who was created by Dr. Thomas Light, an unknown number of years after the original Mega Man series. X is a new type of robot with the ability to make his own decisions. Recognizing the potential danger of this new model, Dr. Light sealed X away in a diagnostic capsule for over 30 years of testing. Though what happened to him is not specifically mentioned, it's assumed that Dr. Light died in that period and his research was left unfinished. X's capsule was uncovered by an archaeologist named Dr. Kane almost 100 years after X's creation. Excited by the possibilities X presented, Dr. Kane disregarded the warnings Light had logged in the capsule and created a legion of new robots that replicated X's free will, called Reploids. However, a virus that caused Reploids to turn against humans, which we find out later in the series was created by Dr. Wily, because of course it was, begins to spread among the Reploids. These ones are dubbed Mavericks and are considered a threat to the human race. A new force called the Maverick Hunters are formed to combat them, and the Maverick Hunters are led by the commander Sigma until he too becomes Maverick and declares war against the humans, thus starting the Maverick War. X takes it upon himself to join the Maverick Hunters under their new leader and his best friend Zero on a mission to save Earth from Sigma. Throughout the series, X, Zero, and later Axel, a character that is introduced in the 3D entries, battle against Sigma and his Maverick followers to stop their diabolical plots to destroy the human race. So, at base value, the story of Mega Man X is extremely similar to the classic series. You got your big bad guy who's got all these evil robots. You're a good robot. Stop them. That's basically what it is. Even though Mega Man X did have a more darker tone than the original series, the general plots are essentially exactly the same. Just swap out a couple names.
Yeah,
so
they're pretty much the same. There's just some minor elements that are like a little bit more complicated, like the story is. Yeah, there's a little bit more character development for our leads and a lot more dialogue than previous games.
Yeah, Mega Man X compared to the original series definitely has a lot more story elements than those games. Mm-hmm. It's definitely much more of a focus in the X series than it is,
and set the tone for newer games to come in and like later Mega Man games to come in and have even more complicated stories.
Yeah, like the Zero series on the GBA.
Yeah, like the Zero series, the Legend series, the Battle Network series.
Yeah. Mega Man X, in the way it's structured its storytelling, basically paved the way for the rest of the series at this point. If it's not a standard numbered entry, expect it to have a little more in-depth narrative than you're used to with a Mega Man game. But now let's get into the series history. Capcom released the first Mega Man X game in December of 1993 in Japan, and January 1994 in North America for the Super Nintendo. And the entire purpose of the X series was it was essentially the next generation of Mega Man, because at this point, Mega Man was still on the NES. Like, a couple years before this, they had just released Mega Man 6, which was still on the NES. People were going a little tired of Mega Man, and Capcom was definitely getting that feeling in terms of sales, because the sales were going down, people weren't getting as excited about new Mega Man games, and they were like, fuck! People are losing interest in Mega Man, we gotta do something new.
We gotta bring the money back.
We gotta reinvent this shit if we want our cold hard cash. So they decided doing the jump to the Super Nintendo to basically reinvent the Mega Man series, and thus Mega Man X was born. At base value, the two games seem very similar. However, Mega Man X did a lot of things different that really revolutionized the way that Mega Man was played. Again, very standard format. You go through levels, you run, you jump, you shoot, you fight bosses, and you steal their powers. Very standard stuff for Mega Man. However, two very tiny details basically changed the way Mega Man was played with X, and that was the wall climbing and the dashing. Because of these two new mechanics, everything was changed. The way levels were designed were completely changed. Boss strategies were completely altered. Essentially, these two very minuscule new mechanics, which you think wouldn't really impact things as much as they did, changed the course of history for Mega Man forever. And because of that, Mega Man X blew up in popularity. The first game was insanely popular. It's considered a classic of not only the Super Nintendo, but of platforming games in general at this point. And Capcom was
to give some perspective on how popular this game is, nearly over 2 decades, 25 years since its release, it's still in the top 50 highest money makers for Capcom.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there, and it's so that's to tell you a lot on how huge this game was when it came out.
The Mega Man X exploded when it came out. Everyone freaking loved it. And because of that, of course, being Capcom, they decided, we gotta make sequels. We gotta capitalize on this shit. We gotta go. So, much like the original Mega Man series formed into this trend, Mega Man X started releasing almost yearly sequels. Beginning with Mega Man X2, which was released the following year in December 1994 in Japan, January 1995 in North America for the Super Nintendo. X2 was basically much like Mega Man 2 to Mega Man 1. X2 took the basis of what made Mega Man X so great and basically added some new stuff into it to further flesh it out. So it added a side quest with the X Hunters, where you had to go to different stages to fight these essentially mini bosses to progress certain elements of the story. There were new upgrades in terms of new charged weapon abilities and air dashing. Basically, it took everything that made X great and just added some new shit to it, and it was just as highly praised as the first one. It sold incredibly well, and because of that, Capcom again capitalized on that by releasing X3 again just a year later in December 1995 in Japan, January 1996 in North America for not only the Super Nintendo, but also the Sega Saturn, the PlayStation, and the PC. So they went multi-platform with this game, and there were very minute differences between the different versions in this game. Because of that, X3 is extremely rare by today's standards. Physical copies of this game go for ridiculous amounts online.
Yeah.
And
it's hard. Yeah. If you try to find it, look on fucking Amazon, and it's you see the prices, and
$200 plus dollars.
New. I'll pay a lot for something, but $200 for a game that's on a cartridge, no, thank you.
Yeah, no. If you're not buying this game digitally in some form, don't even bother, because it's not fucking
most
happening.
Versions of the game, the versions of the game that have come out since then for Mega Man X3, I think they use the SNES version, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I don't think because when the game came out for X3, those three because the versions on certain the PlayStation version, the Saturn versions were actually a 32-bit version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't as good.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
That wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So the deal with X3 is that it was another sequel, again progressing the story of Mega Man X. Much like X1 and 2, very similar styles. Not a whole lot changed with X3. There are a few big differences, though. Mainly the fact that it introduced a new set of upgrades for X to get. Because in the X series, you can get armor upgrades that boost your abilities. In X3, you can get sets of chips, which if you install chips, you can further upgrade parts of your suit. So things like you can get 2 air dashes if you install the dash chip. You can dash vertically upwards now. You can further increase the power of your X-Buster, things like that. But the biggest departure that X3 took from the previous games is that this is the first game that introduced Zero as a playable character.
Yeah,
and
then Zero became one of the most popular characters in the franchise, arguably more popular than X himself.
Yeah.
So,
the thing with Zero in this game though is that he wasn't fully implemented as playable. There was a very specific system where you basically had to call upon Zero, and when you called him, he would swap places with X in the level, and you could play as him. He started with full health, all armor upgrades. He had his own unique set of weapons. He was basically the better version of X in most aspects. But the problem in X3 is that it was very limited with what you could do with Zero, because you could only call upon Zero once per stage, and he could not fight any of the bosses. Once you hit a boss room, it would immediately swap you back to X. And that's kind of a shame, which it's fixed upon in later installments, but it is kind of a shame that the introduction to Zero as a playable character is so limited. But again, it's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. X3 did just as good as the previous games. However, this was the point in the series where people were starting to feel a little fatigued. A lot of people, while enjoying X3, felt like it didn't do enough to really advance the series forward. This is the point in the series where people were like, oh, it's just more of the same.
Yeah.
Which I'm interested to hear what you talk about, because you said X3 is one of your favorites.
X3, well, mainly because Zero. They introduced Zero. That's what I love about it. I also feel like it's the most, out of the original 3, it's one of the, it's definite. I think it's like the most refined. It has the most. It takes the elements that worked in the first 2 games and just adds and just polishes them to the point where to the point where it's basically almost nearly flawless, and the new stuff they introduce is great. Like the chip stuff is fantastic. So I don't know. X3 is I really like X3 a lot. So,
yeah, I don't personally have any issues with X3. It's a little harder than the other 2.
It is a little. I do like that, actually.
Yeah, I appreciate a challenge. So. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've played the original X so many times that all the challenge is basically non-existent. So, yeah. I appreciate the fact that it gets harder as the games progress. But regardless, critics weren't as kind to X3 as the previous installments. This is where the series fatigue started to set in. Capcom knew they had to do something to change things up. And by the point we got to Mega Man X4, which released in August of 1997 in Japan and September of 1997 in North America, for the PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and PC, this was the first fully 32-bit Mega Man X game. So, just in terms of overall graphic fidelity, huge improvement over the original trilogy. Like, this game, X4 looks incredible, even by today's standards. Like, the sprite quality is so freaking high.
This is a gorgeous-looking game.
Yeah. But that was a huge point of contention for many people. X4 did incredibly well, review-wise. But a lot of people criticized it for, again, playing it safe. There weren't a whole lot of things new about X4 that really differentiated it.
That's another thing they criticized it for, but we'll get it. Finish it, then I'll get into that.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. But let's talk about X4. X4, again, released in 1997 for the PlayStation. First fully 32-bit Mega Man X game. Graphics got a huge boost. Gameplay is pretty similar to the original trilogy, other than the fact that this is the first game where Zero is a fully implemented playable character. There are 2 separate campaigns, one for X, one for Zero. And Zero in this game, rather than being sort of an X clone, has his own unique moveset that makes him feel completely distinct from X as a character. Yeah. He has his Z-Saber, The upgrades that he gets from bosses are different moves that he can perform with the Z-Saber. He has his own story that delves into his backstory and somewhat of Sigma's backstory. Zero is the real part of this game that really pushed the series forward, because Zero as a playstyle is so incredibly different than any other Mega Man game that this part of the game is really a natural evolution of the playstyle. X is pretty much what you expect at this point. Not a whole lot has changed with him. But the main thing that made X4 stand out from the rest was how it presented its story. Because this is the first and only Mega Man X game, until we get to the 3D ones, that has fully animated cutscenes with full voice acting.
And
oh boy! Oh, it's awful.
It's something. Oh, the voice acting is it's so bad.
Oh, it's horrendous.
It's hilarious. I love it. It's the type of bad voice acting you only hear about. You think you only hear in like old 80s stuff, but oh boy, it's the type of bad that you listen to it and you just can't look away from. You can't stop watching or listening to it. It's wonderful. It's like a work of art.
It reaches so bad that it's good territory.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a glorious train wreck in all aspects of the word.
It is a wonderful train wreck.
I don't think we have to talk about it past that. If you're into Mega Man X, you know about this game. You know the infamous "What am I fighting for?" scene. That's been a meme for fucking years. Like, and that was a huge point of contention for this game, is that, good God, the voice acting is awful and it actively takes you out of the experience. But hey, if it's that right kind of trash where, you know what, I can sit through this and enjoy it, then you've done more than if it was just plain out shit. So props to them for that.
A lot of the voice acting reminds me of like fucking Sonic Adventure at times in terms of how fucking bad it is, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing because it's funny. It's very, very funny. And so if you are a fan of really shitty voice acting and some really, really funny line delivery, please, for the love of God, at least watch the Mega Man X4 cutscenes. They're all on YouTube. If you don't want to play the game, they're on YouTube. Although I highly recommend playing X4 because it might be
X4.
It might actually be my favorite Mega Man game, Mega Man X game. But if you want some shitty voice acting, definitely check out Mega Man X4.
It's a great time.
It's
a great time for everyone. Invite your parents. Invite grandma. It's fun for the whole family.
Your grandma will love it. She'll be like, what are the riot robots fighting? How do you jump?
What? Why does this robot sound like a small girl? That's another thing. I'll save that for opinions, actually, because I want to talk about that. But anyway, X4 was highly praised, even though a lot of people thought that it still didn't do enough to push the series forward. It was still well received. Great start to Mega Man X's 32-bit legacy. From here, we get our first spin-off of the spin-off, Mega Man Extreme, which was released for the Game Boy Color 3 years after Mega Man X. It was released in October 2000 in Japan and January 2001 in North America. So, I get it's a spin-off, but in terms of gaps between games, this is the largest one to date. But Mega Man Extreme, again, released for the Game Boy Color. Matt, do you want to explain this? Because this one's weird.
All right, so technically, Mega Man Extreme takes place during the timeline of Mega Man X. It is not technically, from what I understand, it is canon technically, and it's set during but the big gimmick about it is that it's set during it's not set in like the main event of the series because it's mostly set in cyberspace or like doing this in a simulation, because it follows a group of Maverick androids called Shadow Hunters, which go into the main network or go into the main mother computer system and decide they're going to try to basically make it go rampant. So you basically head into cyberspace itself, and in cyberspace you'll have to take down bosses from previous Mega Man games, mainly that of Mega Man X and X2 in the case of this game. And it's so that's basically the main gimmick of it. It's essentially a way for them to remake Mega Man X and X2 without actually having to remake X and X2
until they actually remade X
and X2,
which we'll get to that. But Mega Man Extreme is a weird one. It's like the odd one out in the series.
Yeah. It's supposed to. I have actually not played Extreme, so
neither have I.
No, I've heard it's good though.
According to critical reception, it did pretty damn well. 7s and 8s across the board for the most part.
Yeah, apparently it was quite good. There was some people complaining that it was too hard, apparently, but that seemed to be one complaint across the board, that it's like, hey, this is on the Game Boy, but this is hard as balls. But but other than that, I have not played Extreme, so I cannot confirm nor deny. I cannot confirm nor deny what the hell if this game is good or not. But that's a quick explanation as to what Extreme is.
So Extreme is kind of a pseudo remake of the first 2 X games, reuses assets like music and entire levels, bosses from the old games, while telling its own original story. Interesting, definitely the odd one out in terms of the rest of the series. Let's briefly touch upon its sequel, Extreme 2, which came out just a year later in Japan, July 2001, the same year as the first game in North America in November 2001. Basically more of the same. Extreme 2 did the same thing that Extreme 1 did. It incorporated elements of X1 and 2, while also incorporating elements of X3. It introduced Zero as a playable character, and he controlled very similar to the way he did in X3. Again, pretty much, standard fare, same as the first.
Yeah. The big gimmick of this one was that it's not set in cyberspace. Like, unlike Extreme, this one actually has a timeline placement. It's set in between X3 and X4, and it's edited in the main the bit is that in this they're not going to the cyberspace, but the DNA soul. It's basically imagine dead Mavericks being brought back to life. That's what it is. It basically it's zombies. That's what it is. Zombie robots.
Great, Maverick zombies. That's what I want in my life.
That is what I want. Yes.
In Japan, it was called Rockman X2 Solar Racer, which is a thing in the game.
That's a far cooler name than Extreme 2. Not gonna lie.
The Japanese names are fucking rad, dude.
The fucking Solar Racer, I would fucking play that in a heartbeat. If it was a game called Solar Racer, I'd be like, that must be dope as hell.
But yeah, Extreme 2, new verse, same as the first, not much to talk about there. Again, did pretty well in terms of general reception, so again, we have not played these games, so we can't say much more other than that. But let's get back to the main series. So after X4, people wondered what the future was for Mega Man X. It turns out it was Mega Man X5, which, in the main series of X games, is the longest gap between games the series has seen. It was released in Japan in November of 2000, in January 2001 in North America for the PlayStation 1 and the PC. This
was also the first game that was made without Kenji Inafune involved.
Yes.
So this was the first one that was made without Kenji Inafune involved, and you can tell.
Let's talk about that. So X5, very similar in structure to X4. At this point in the series, it's basically just reiterating previous games with some added new elements. That's, again, a big point of contention. Even though the game did critically well, people were still complaining that it's, more of the same. X5, though, is mostly considered to be the beginning of the end for Mega Man X, where it just started a gradual decline in quality throughout the rest of the series. Because X5, while still being critically praised for the most part, was not received as well as X4. Because it didn't do anything new, and people at this point were starting, much like the classic series, at this point people were starting to get tired of Mega Man X.
It was meant to be the last X game, by the way. Actually, initially in development, it was always planned to be the final X game. Of course, that we know that isn't the case because this game sold like hotcakes, and one thing Capcom loves more than screwing people over with DLC is money.
It's money.
It's money. So
yeah. So this is much considered to be the beginning and the end for Mega Man X, where the games just started to get worse and worse with each new installment. Great segue into Mega Man X6, which was released in December of 2001 in North America and November of 2001 in Japan. Not many people talk very kindly of X6, do they, Matt?
I haven't played X6.
I have not either.
I have not. It's the one main series game I haven't touched. Not because I don't want to. I do want to play it. Unfortunately, it's just that I can't. It's hard. It's out of all the X games, I found it's the hardest to find.
Yeah,
this is a really hard one to find.
X6, in terms of the X games, is right up there in rarity with the likes of X3, because it hasn't seen until now a physical release outside of its original release, and it has, as of this recording, still not been released digitally other than with the Legacy Collection. It was not released as a PlayStation Classic on the PS3, unlike X4 and X5, so it is very rare. It was very rare up until the Legacy Collection came out to actually get this game digitally.
Yeah, it didn't help that X6. It didn't help that it was released at like the very end of the PlayStation's life cycle. Like it was like December of 2001, and that's when the PlayStation 2 had come out, and nobody gave a crap about the PS1 anymore.
No, people had moved on.
Yeah. It also didn't help that X6 is basically a carbon copy of X5.
Yeah.
Like, there's very little that has been changed between
if a high point of contention for X5 is that it was more of the same, X6 is basically more of the same, the game.
Yeah.
Which it basically did nothing to advance the series. Like
the only
Matt
thing
said,
it did was up the difficulty to the point where everyone is like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Much like Matt said, it's basically a carbon copy of X5 with a very hard mode turned on from the start, because that is the biggest point of contention for this game, is that it is ridiculously hard for no reason.
Yeah, it's ridiculously hard. I don't mind a hard Mega Man game. Trust me, I've played Mega Man 1.
Mega Man 1 is stupid.
Mega Man 1 is so hard, but I don't mind a hard Mega Man game. I just want a good hard Mega Man game.
Yeah. I want a game that gives me a challenge without making me want to tear my fucking hair out.
Yeah. I want something that makes me that when after I beat it I'm like, oh, I feel good about myself, not finally.
Yeah. So X6, even though it was still generally well received by critics, again, not as highly received as X5 and X4 before it.
Surprised it got as much praise as it did, to be honest. From fans
from what I've heard about it too, same. But again, was not as highly praised as X5 and X4 before it. Sales dropped drastically with this entry because people were moving on from the PlayStation, and again, people were really starting to feel the fatigue with Mega Man X, which culminates in what is widely considered the ultimate low point of the franchise. You know what's coming up. Let's talk about Mega Man X7.
Oh boy.
Released in July 2003 in Japan and October 2003 in North America. This was the first X game to be released on modern hardware. It was released for the PS2 and the PC in Korea.
Huh.
Yeah, didn't know that, did you?
Yeah, Korea seems to love... Korea likes its PC games.
Yeah.
I know that for sure.
So, the main selling point of this game is that it was the first Mega Man X game in 3D. It had 2.5D side-scrolling sections, but for the most part, the game was played in fully 3D. And it did not do very well, did it, Matt?
It didn't work. It didn't work.
It didn't fucking work.
They tried. I'll give them that. They tried, but it's a mess. It is an absolute mess. It's essentially an X7 game that tries to be a third-person shooter while at the same time trying to keep like the same style of control scheme as the original Mega Man games, and it's not fun. Mm-hmm. It's not fun. Also, if you look at the page, apparently this game had like 11 musical composers, and I just want to bring that up because I think that's
hold on. I've got it right here. Mm-hmm. The musical score for X7 was composed by 9 individuals. A 46-song soundtrack was released in Japan on October 1st, 2003.
That is that to me, I find that funny because that's I have never seen something like that before. That is very odd to me. Okay, but my big
X7 is poo.
It is poo. It's freaking it is garbaggio. It is pretty bad. It's definitely the weakest in the series. Like,
by
a
far.
Significant margin.
Basically, if you have not played or heard much of X7, basically imagine the gameplay style of the 2D games and throwing that haphazard into 3D without designing the game around the fact that style is being incorporated into 3D.
It's pretty bad, which is funny because Mega Man had already gone into 3D and did it well with the Legends series.
Legends, yeah. Legends had been released by this point.
And we're also third-person shooters, but we're like 10 bajillion times better than this.
You heard it here first, folks. 10 bajillion times better.
10 bajillion times better. This is also the game that introduced Axel.
And he's an annoying little shit.
He's an annoying little shit. He gets better in later games, but he's something. He's something, all right.
I will come clean. I have a confession. I have still not played X7. I was meaning to play X7 for the first time just to try it out before we did this podcast. But my crippling anxiety kicked in. I couldn't bring myself to devote my time to this garbage.
Shane, X7's a game that needs to be played at some point. It is required because you need to know how far Mega Man fell. It can go. How it can go.
I wholly intend to play this game at some point. Now readily available on the new Mega Man X Legacy Collection, available in stores now. So if you want to buy a shitty Mega Man game... Okay, here's the thing. If you're going to buy either of the Legacy Collections, buy the second one, because it has the worst selection of games, and it has X7.
It has X7. It's also got another game. We'll get into that.
But yeah, X7 did not do well.
It actually did pretty well, which is funny. Like, I think that's...
it had very mixed reviews. There were some aspects of the game that people praised, like the character swapping and the Reploid rescue system. People also thought that the general mixture of 2D and 3D was a good concept, But basically, all the criticism of this game comes down to the execution. It was incredibly poorly executed in every facet of the word. It just didn't work. They tried to keep the original fast-paced style of the 2D games and throw it right into 3D without incorporating that design into a 3D space. It just didn't do well. It controlled like ass. The level design was not great. The voice acting is like X4 calibers of terrible.
Yeah, it's just pretty bad.
Yeah, this game did not do well. This was basically considered to be the death of Mega Man X. At this point, the series had hit rock bottom, and other than basically at this point having a cult following, the Mega Man X series was honestly tarnished with X7.
Yeah, it was.
But let's move on from that train wreck. Let's talk about the other spin-off we have to talk about. Mega Man X Command Mission, which was released for the GameCube and the PS2 in July of 2004 in Japan, in September of 2004 for North America. Matt, why don't you talk about this one?
This is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one because it's because unlike other Mega Man games in general, this game is a turn-based RPG.
Yes, the only one in the X series.
You may be like, well, Matthew, haven't Mega Man done RPGs before? And I'd tell you, oh, you're correct on that front, because there are Mega Man games that are RPGs. Take a look at the Battle Network games, for example. So there have been. This is not an unknown or just random genre shift. The Mega Man has forayed into RPGs before, and to an extent, there's always been some kind of like RPG aspects to Mega Man games with its
upgrades. The upgrade system is very RPG-esque.
Yeah, very RPGs and stuff. And according to Capcom and the director Yoshinori Tanaka, Mega Man X Command Mission was turned into an RPG because they noticed fans really liked the story and the story of Mega Man games. So they decided we're gonna make a Mega Man game that's very much focused on the story, and that's basically what they did. They made a Mega Man game, a Mega Man X game that is pretty much mostly story. Whether or not the story is good is up for debate. I think it's all right. I think it's pretty all right. I think it's a pretty decent one. But because it's an RPG, it's very different from other Mega Man games.
Yes.
It's Mega Man games. In terms of the battle system is really good, though. It's a very, very good battle system.
That was one of the highest praised elements of the game in reviews, was that the battle system was very intricate.
It's very intricate. It's simple. It's simple to learn, but has a lot of subtleties and a lot of potential for improvement as the more you go on.
Very Paper Mario-esque battle system with button combinations to pull off advanced moves and all that.
It's very Paper Mario, but combine that with like the different Mega Man X staples, so you have like different, like you have charged attacks and everything like that too, and it's really, really cool. Unfortunately, there's some other stuff. The game is not unfortunately, the game is super linear and it's not long. It's like really short as well. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those, and it's really easy. Like compared to other Mega Man games, it's surprisingly like a breeze. Like you'll play it and you go through it in like 5 to 6 hours. And you're like, that's it.
Those were the highest points of contention in reviewer criticism: the short length, the linearity, and the difficulty. All the reviewers thought that those three elements were sorely lacking in this game. Yeah,
it was sorely lacking, but Mega Man, its Command Mission is actually pretty decent. So it's worth definitely worth checking out. Even I think technically on the timeline, it takes place post the main series. So
after everything.
after X8 at least.
Which
it takes place 100 years after the events of Mega Man X8. So,
well, speaking of X8, great transition there. Let's talk about the final main entry in the X series as of this recording, Mega Man X8, which was released in Japan in December 2004 and North America in March 2005 for the PlayStation 2 and the PC. Capcom had a lot of work on their hands after X7. They had to basically turn the entire series around in one entry. Whether or not they succeeded is, up to general debate. But X8 was largely considered much better than X7 in terms of quality.
Yeah. They actually learned from their mistakes, and they made a very smart decision, I feel. It's very much it goes into 2.5D for the most part.
Yes.
So one, the game looks gorgeous.
Yeah, a huge step up in terms of graphical fidelity from X7.
This game looks gorgeous. It's big, but it's big because basically, I think out of all the Mega Man games since the first 4, it's the one that captures the original feel of Mega Man X the best. Mm-hmm. Because it's basic. This is what X7 should have been, and if I think that if X7 was this and not whatever the fucking shit it was,
maybe X wouldn't have died the way it did.
It wouldn't have died. It wouldn't have died because X8 sold like dog shit, and it's extremely hard to find nowadays. I got lucky that the reason I played is because I knew someone who owned X8 who got it when it first came out. So I was on the lucky side. Yeah. But it is a very difficult game to find.
Yeah. Nowadays, because of the Legacy Collection, it's now much more readily available. But in terms of original physical copies of this game, yes, it is very rare. Up there with X3 and X6 in terms of rarity.
Yeah.
But let's talk about X8 a little bit. Like you said, it went back to a more classic style design of previous Mega Man X games. It ditched most of the 3D gameplay in favor of a 2.5D style. However, there were certain stages that were played in fully 3D. It was much more tightly knit than X7 in terms of controls. It controlled much better than X7 did. It was much more responsive. The gameplay was faster. It was more, like Matt said, it was more akin to a classic style Mega Man X game, just with 3D graphics. And in terms of reception, it did much better. It fared much better than X7. A lot of people praised the 2.5D style. A lot of people praised the throwback to the classic style of Mega Man X games. But in terms of overall lasting potential, it did not do very good. It sold like dog shit. As of the end of the fiscal year 2005, it had only sold 35,000 units.
Oof.
It only sold just under 15,000 in its first week in Japan. So
it sold pretty bad. It was not. It did not sell very well. Because of that killed Mega Man X. Yeah. Which is a shame because X8's actually quite good. I really like X8.
Yeah. But yeah, X8 as of this recording is the last mainline entry in the X series. Basically, this is the game that killed Mega Man X. And I mostly blame X7 because of the horrific level of quality that X7 brought. It basically soured the rest of the potential this franchise had to improve. So I don't blame X8 for being the sole purpose. That's not the word I'm looking for. I don't blame X8 as the sole reason why Mega Man X as a series died. I blame the lasting impact that X7 had.
Yeah, I also blame bad marketing for it too, because this was from what I understand, the game was like barely marketed as well. Like it was just kind of released and just it was sent to die basically. I think Capcom had no faith in it.
It was basically dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the main two things that I blame for killing Mega Man X was the lasting poor quality of X7 and the horrific sales of X8. Those two things combined is basically what killed this series. And to this date, there has not been a new mainline entry in the X series in almost 15 years.
Yeah, so, even though there have been consistent rumors for like a decade at this point that there will be an X9. Then things never happened. Things never went through. Basically, It never truly they never truly came back.
Mm-hmm.
Although they even though they continue to bring back the mainline series, like every couple of years or so, X has still stayed dormant.
But we still have a couple games to talk about before we wrap up general history on Mega Man X. These last few games aren't really that noteworthy to mention, but we should still mention them. There was an enhanced remake of the original Mega Man X game called Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, which was released on the PlayStation Portable. This game was intended to be the first entry in a new line of Mega Man X games. Basically, what Capcom wanted to do was they wanted to remake the first 6 X games on the PSP, because for some reason Capcom had like a huge hard-on for the PSP. I can't explain it, but whatever.
And they made one game of it, and it's in terms of remakes, it's really good. It's really, really good. Unfortunately, it did not meet sales expectations, so Capcom just never made all the other games.
Yeah, gee, where have I heard that before?
It just turns out that
that if you remake a classic game that people adore on a handheld system that no one owns, not gonna do very well.
It does have anime cutscenes though, and
it does.
Cutscenes are very fun.
Let's talk about Maverick Hunter X a little bit. It's a full-on remake of Mega Man X. Everything is built from the ground up. New sound, new graphics, new engine. It has fully voice-acted cutscenes and dialogue sections. It's got a remixed soundtrack. It introduced Vile as a playable character in his own story, which is cool. There were some new power-ups that were introduced. It was released with an OVA titled The Day of Sigma, which serves as a prequel to this rebooted timeline of Mega Man X. Because this series of PSP remakes was meant to retcon the original Mega Man X timeline, retell the story with things moved around and changed. But unfortunately, because this game sold incredibly poorly, they did not follow through on those other X remakes, and this was basically left to die on the PSP.
Yeah, this was originally going to be an X9, by the way. It was originally going to be X9, but they decided, nah, let's just remake X1.
And then let's remake all the way up to 6, but then it didn't sell well, and then they were like, well, shit, this guy, okay, no one cares, so fuck it. Hit the kill switch.
The pack it up, boys. Pack it up.
I find it extremely fascinating that they basically did the same thing with the classic series, because this is very much in the vein of Mega Man Powered Up, which was basically this treatment to the original classic Mega Man game from 1987. Again, that basically had the same fate as this.
Yeah, and now is also supposed to be the start of a remake of multiple games in the original series, but that never went anywhere.
But it didn't sell, so they fucking scrapped it.
Capcom, you're fucking stupid.
Capcom's pretty dumb.
Yeah, fucking. Hey, can we want to remake? It's like it didn't work with the OG, but maybe it could work with X. Because people like because X has it's extreme.
But we're still gonna release it on the PSP that no one fucking cares about.
Because we like the PSP. We have the PSP has potential. It's not gonna get destroyed by the GBA by the DS on anything.
They couldn't have put a little more money into this and developed it for like the 360 and had it been like the first wave of Xbox Live Arcade titles.
if it was part of Xbox's live shit, people would have gone nuts for it. I think. But no, no. It was on the PSP, and the only thing people care about on the PSP is having a PSP as a coaster. So I think that it pretty much is the old. So of course nobody bought it.
Yeah.
And that's been the latest release for Mega Man.
Well, that has been the latest release of Mega Man. Since then, all we've gotten is a couple of compilations. Firstly, we had the Mega Man X Collection, which was released exclusively in North America in January 2006 for the GameCube and PS2. This is essentially a compilation of the first 6 X games, as well as Battle and Chase.
Yeah, which is
for
a game
some reason.
It's a racing game that was only available in Japan for the longest time until it was brought over with this game to North America. Do you want to play a Mega Man racing game? No, because I sure don't.
I don't.
And I sure don't, because it's pretty much imagine Mario Kart but with Mega Man.
Yeah, that sounds what it is. Boring.
It's pretty much you can play as a Proto Man, and it's not even Mega Man X. It's OG.
No, it's OG Mega Man. So why put it in the X collection?
That sounds like it's almost like a very Capcom thing.
Fucking Capcom.
Fucking hell.
Fucking Capcom. But that was as of this recording the last Mega Man X related game release for 12 years. For 12 years, there was no signs of Mega Man X whatsoever. Until this past week, July 24th, 2018, when the Mega Man X Legacy Collections released on modern consoles for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. These 2 collections contain all 8 mainline X games, X1 through X8, with improved visuals, HD resolution, and a bunch of extra shit added in for extra flair. Because of this collection, there are possibilities that Capcom will go the way with Mega Man X that they did for the classic series, where they will basically reboot it and release X9 on modern hardware and basically go from there. And I've always said to Matt, if we get a new Mega Man X game, if we get Mega Man X9 in the style of the original X games released on modern consoles, I'm like buying that shit day one, because I live for this shit.
Yeah, because I would buy it. That sounds amazing to me. Like, that's perfect. Like, that's
But yeah, the Legacy Collections are the most recent releases for Mega Man X, and they're just another compilation package. So we haven't seen a mainline X game since X8 back in 2005. It's been almost 15 years since we've seen a proper sequel to X8. But there were some juicy tidbits that surfaced lately that had some clues as to a potential X9 finally releasing at some point in the near future. But that's for another day. That concludes the history. Yeah. That concludes the history portion of our Mega Man X discussion. A series of highs and lows, if there ever was one.
Yes.
But with that said, now that we've covered the history, let's get into our general opinions on Mega Man X as a series in general. So Matt, what are your opinions on Mega Man X as a franchise?
It's out of all the main line Mega Man series, it is the most varying in quality out of all of them. It's got some of my favorite Mega Man games, with X4 and X1. But it's also got some of the worst ones, if not the worst. I would argue, I think X7 is my least favorite Mega Man game. I really do not like X7.
No, really?
Yeah, I don't.
Wow, what a shocker!
Yeah. It's not my favorite Mega Man series. That still goes to 0 to me. But I really enjoy. For the most part, I really like Mega Man X a lot. It's an example of taking specifically, especially when it's at its best. It was an example of taking a formula and completely redefining it for a brand new for a completely brand new and separate experience entirely. It took everything that was good about the mainline series and changed it up enough to the point where X is its own beast entirely. It's its own thing, and it's very, very good.
Mega Man X is one of those franchises that, to me, unless they basically do what they did with X and completely reinvent Mega Man with an entirely new series, this will hands down always be my favorite series of Mega Man games. The thing about X is that I don't know what about it captivated me so much, but it basically took everything that I loved about the original X games and added all of these new elements and mechanics that not only made sense and properly evolved the gameplay style of Mega Man, but really just struck a nerve with me, because anyone who talks to me knows that I love movement mechanics in games. That's why I love things like Sonic, because of the speed. I love Spider-Man games because of the web swinging. I just love when games base their design around these really intricate movement mechanics that really give you a lot of possibilities with what you can do in-game. And Mega Man X is one of those series to me because of the introduction of the wall climbing and the dashing. It basically reinvented Mega Man. And in my eyes, Mega Man X will always be the definitive series of Mega Man games for me. Even though I still love Classic, I played a little bit of Zero and I really like that.
Zero's great.
Zero is pretty good. X will always be my favorite, just because of what it did for Mega Man at the time. And the fact that even though it had seen better days, X 1 through 4 are freaking masterpieces of 2D platforming. They're all freaking phenomenal in their own right. Can't say the same for the second half of the series, but hey, the quality of X 1 through 4 is still enough to really elevate this series for me in my eyes. X1, even to this day,
nice you said.
X1 to this day is still in my top 5 favorite games of all time. I freaking love the original X game. I played it so many times. I've basically memorized the layouts, and every time I play it, I go straight for 100% completion, and I always get it, because I love this game so much that I always feel the need to go that extra mile. So yeah, I love Mega Man X. It'll always be my favorite series of Mega Man games, unless Capcom comes and starts a new series that is so mind-blowingly amazing that it makes X look irrelevant. X will always be my favorite.
Yeah, and considering Capcom's done nothing with Mega Man, So, yeah, well said.
Yeah. So, before we wrap up this Mega Man X-centric podcast, let's talk about some of our personal experiences with Mega Man X. Matt, if there are any memories that you want to talk about involving you and Mega Man X, if you want to talk about your history with the series, go for it. What are your experiences with the Mega Man X series?
I remember being sad at X7.
I remember wanting to kill myself because of X7.
I remember that. But I also remember it's interesting because I don't have a nostalgic connection to X like I do with Zero, or I do Zero, Battle Network, or the original series. Those are the three I knew. So X, I didn't play X until much later in life.
I also did not play X until much later in my life.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a nostalgic connection to X the same way a lot of other people do. If anything, my nostalgic connection for Mega Man goes back to the first Mega Man game I ever played, which was Mega Man 3. Which Mega Man 3 it's really good. Mega Man I think the first time I played Mega Man X, I think I was in like my last year of high school. Because I was going through, because I was like, I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to go through the Mega Man games because I feel like it. Played all the OG series, and then I played all of Zero, and then I'm like, you know what, I haven't played X, so go play X. And then I did, and I said, why the fuck have I not played X?
Why the fuck have I taken so long to get to X?
Yeah, why have I taken so long? And then I got the X7, and I'm like, oh, wait, this is why I take so long.
This is why. Let's backpedal the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I stuck with it, though, and I beat X7. That was fun.
That sounds like a torturous nightmare.
It was something. I've played far worse, but, like, it's pretty bad. So, yeah, I don't... No, all I know, most of my memories of X consist of me being mad at it because it's hard, but like it's also like I'm glad that I picked it up and played it, because normally I would not have. Because I have a feeling that if I had not played it during my last year of high school, I probably wouldn't have touched it. So. Because there's other games that have also come out in the past couple of years that have taken the spotlight from me, away from Mega Man. Probably because Mega Man's been dormant for so long that I stopped caring for a while. But yeah, that's all I have to say. All I pretty much have to say about that on Mega Man X. Not much I have to say, to be honest, because I played it so late. So I don't necessarily have much of a connection to Mega Man X, as some people. Shane, how about you? Do you have any memories or stories
I'm a lot like you, where I didn't play it until much later in my life. I actually didn't play it until I was already in university. So I actually played it later than you did, and yet for some reason you and I are like opposite ends of the spectrum, because I grew such a huge connection to Mega Man X through just playing the first game. I was like, man, if I had played this as a kid on the Super Nintendo, this probably could be my favorite game ever. Like, I remember it was right around the time I got my Wii U. So around 2015, 2016. I decided to load my Wii U up with Virtual Console games, and I decided instead of just rebuying the games that I had on the Wii, I was going to try and go for some games that I had never actually gotten to play, that I always wanted to play. One of those being Mega Man X. So I bought Mega Man X on Wii U Virtual Console, and I remember playing it. I remember being instantly hooked. Because even before I actually played the game, I've had this weird on-off connection with Mega Man X, mainly because of Egoraptor. His sequelitis video on Mega Man X is something that's like infused in my teenage brain.
That video is funny. It's so funny.
It's so funny. And so even before I even played X, I had this weird connection through Egoraptor's video, where X has always been something that's been in my adolescent mind, but I've just never followed through on it. And then when I got my Wii U, I bought it on there. I finally got a chance to play it for myself, and I was, like, immediately hooked. Like, I played that game for fucking hours. Like, I remember, like, when I first got it, that was the only thing I played for, like, at least a month. Like, I played it through the first time. I loved it. I immediately played it again because I wanted to get all of the items and do 100%. And then I did a 100% run. I beat it again. And I just kept replaying it over and over again for what had to have been at least a month straight. And then I started looking into speedrunning tactics. I started trying to speedrun it. I eventually got my time down to just about an hour and a half, 100% run.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
I can't do that shit. It's like when you see people beat Mega Man X in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I could never do that fucking shit.
Fucking, what was that one we found for Mega Man? It was like someone beat the original, like the OG Mega Man in like 10 minutes.
3 minutes.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you use glitches.
Yeah, the speedrunning community is a weird one, to say the least.
Because I'm pretty sure you glitched the game.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, I loved X so much, and I grew such a deep connection with it, that I eventually got, like, speedrunner status on that game, just because I kept playing it over and over and over again. And then I was like, this game's incredible, I need to play the rest of them. So I played X2 shortly after that, and I played through X2, beat it 100%. I didn't like it as much as the first game, but it was still very, very high quality. I eventually played X3. I never beat that 100%, but I did beat X3. And then I went to X4, which the PlayStation games are something that I have a weirder connection with than the OG trilogy, because I've had X4 and X5 digital versions on my PS3 for like years before I even played the original. Like, those were just games where it's like, hey, I like Mega Man, I'm gonna buy that. And then I just never really got around to playing them.
It's like me on the Steam summer sale. It's like, of course, I'm gonna buy this. Why? It's $2. I'll never play it, but I might as well have it.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like, I've had those games digitally on my PS3 for like years before I even played the first X game. And I played a little bit of X4 a couple years before I played X1. They were like $6, so I was like, yeah, I like Mega Man, why the fuck not? But then I went back and actually played X4, and X4 is so extremely close to being my favorite, but I think just like the connection I built with the first game elevates it just that tiny amount above X4, even though X4 is a fucking brilliant game. X1 will probably always be my favorite, but I loved X4.
Is so good.
I loved X4. I never got around to playing X5. That's where I stopped. So yeah, I just have memories of like third year of university, just sitting in my living room in the middle of winter with the Wii U gamepad, just playing Virtual Console Mega Man X just over and over and over again. That's basically the extent of my memories, is just I was fucking obsessed over X for like a month, and then I played through the first half of the series and then just kind of stopped. Because I formed such a deep connection with the first game that it elevated above and beyond every other game in the series for me. But X as a whole, as a series, is still my favorite Mega Man series, just because of what it did to evolve the classic playstyle of Mega Man. But that's the extent of my memories. Just me sitting in my PJs in my living room with a Wii U gamepad, just playing it on Virtual Console over and over again, and just basically fucking learning the ins and outs and like memorizing the game. And don't be like me, because that is what 6-year-olds do.
That is what Shane is actually a child.
That is what 6-year-olds do. I was 20 when I did that, so don't be me.
Shane is actually a child, though. So.
Yep, I am just a big man, baby. I'm all about those video games. But yeah, that's basically the extent of my memories with Mega Man X. Again, if I had actually played this game as a kid, like if Mega Man X was a game that I grew up with, I feel like, even though I have such a great admiration for the series now, I feel like if I had grown up with it and it was a childhood favorite of mine, the nostalgia would have pushed it past that.
Oh, and, yeah, it would have. Yeah. For me as well.
Yeah, but, X probably would be my favorite game of all time if I had played it as a kid. I don't doubt that.
It's not. I don't have that, though, because I played it way too late to consider that. So
yeah. But I still have great memories of being a full-grown adult in my underwear playing Mega Man X.
Acting like a child. I feel like a child. Shane is a child. Shane, do you think Shane says he's in university, but he's actually like 7 years old?
I am a 5-year-old body switcher who swapped bodies with an unsuspecting university student.
A film university student. Because joke's on him. Who wants to be in film anyways, am I right?
Yeah, who wants to be a fucking filmmaker? Not me.
Nobody. Not this guy.
But yeah, that's basically the extent of my memories with Mega Man X. So before we wrap this up, I think we should give our final statements on Mega Man X in general. So, Matt, what are your final words on Mega Man X as a whole?
Mega Man X makes me makes me hard. That's it. That's my final statement.
It makes me X in my pants.
Oh, Mega Man X, more like Mega Man X. It's
more like Mega Man XXX because it's fucking me hard.
Mega Man XXX starring Vin Diesel as Triple X.
Triple X. Aye.
Alright, yeah, well, yeah, it's Mega Man X is quite good.
It is very good. It is extremely good. In terms of my final statements, what else is there to say that I already haven't said? Mega Man X is my favorite series of Mega Man games. In my mind, it is one of the greatest series of platforming games in history. Like, not many other series come close to just how fun X is. I think it did great things for Mega Man in general. It really, at the time, revitalized interest in a dying franchise. And even though, you know, it's had its ups and its downs, it's certainly had its downs.
Yeah, it definitely had its downs.
Mega Man X is still a highly regarded franchise that I personally love. And I can't wait for the X Legacy Collection to sell like hotcakes so that they can finally make X9. Because that's going to be the fucking day, boys. But with that said, I believe we are ready to wrap things up here. So, thank you very much for watching this special topic edition of the Bearded Banter Podcast where we gushed and shat all over Mega Man X. I have been your host, the Bearded One, Shane. It's been lovely having you here. With me, as always, is my co-host, Matt Legion Rex. Say goodbye, Matthew.
I like to plug that if you enjoy this podcast, I'm sure you would enjoy another podcast. Oh. Mainly that if you're a Mega Man fan, you're probably also an anime fan. There's some crossover there. If you're an anime fan, highly recommend checking out the Gap Podcast, the generic anime podcast, where we talk about all things anime. There's an episode every other week. Next week we talk about Darling in the Franxx, so that's going to be tons of fun.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be tons of fun. It's going to be one of the best episodes we've ever done, more than likely. So I highly recommend checking that out. Spencer will actually be on that one.
Yeah, hopefully. He just never showed up, did he?
He just never. He's not online.
He is not. Nope. He is sleep.
He's a poopy butthead.
He is a poopy butthead who smells like dicks.
Who just didn't shut up. Or he's either asleep or he's working and decided that he's lied to us. Which is,
he just didn't inform us that whatever.
Well, whatever. So yeah, my name is Matt, aka Legion Rex, and I really enjoy talking about Mega Man X. I really, really enjoy. Oh, we need to talk about the OG series, though.
Yes, we will do that. So. We will do that at some point in the future. We will cover the classic series.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think we're ready to wrap things up here. So thanks for watching. If you like what you've seen, subscribe to BGN for more great gaming content. We got some Let's Plays, we got some podcasts, we got some live streams, occasional unboxings, etc. We got lots of good gaming shit here. If you like gaming and you like hearing our dumb voices, then I suggest subscribing and also clicking that bell, because YouTube is a barren wasteland of idiocracy. because you have to click 2 buttons to actually get videos in your subscribe. I'm not going to start with that.
YouTube fucking sucks.
YouTube fucking sucks. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks for another special edition of the Bearded Banter Podcast, where we're going to have an all-star cast of friendos to join us for a discussion of our own personal top 10 favorite video games of all time. We're each going to talk about our top 10 games list. We're going to compare and contrast. There's going to be a lot of heated discussion, probably. It's going to be a lot of fun.
My number 1 is Big Rigs.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in then to hear Matt talk all about big rigs, over-the-road racing, and why it's the greatest video game ever made.
The greatest game of all time. Never before has a racing game represented so much to me. I, too, want to go backwards and fucking go into speed of light.
I want to travel at the speed of light by traveling backwards with a truck phasing through the universe.
Phasing through the universe. Brilliant.
Brilliant game design. A fucking classic.
Yeah.
Alright, that's enough bullshit for today.
We're fucking done, yeah.
We'll see you in 2 weeks for our discussion about our top 10 favorite games of all time. I've been your host, Shane the Bearded One. With me is Matt Legirex. We'll see you next time, everyone. Keep on gaming.
Bye.